Welcome to Star Wars Culture Live, episode 22. Feels like more somehow, but we are a fairly new podcast focusing on Star Wars excitement and connection, your escape pod for hyperspace buzz and fandom fixes. As always, I am Ian. This is Marty. Welcome back, Marty. We had a couple of weeks without Marty there, but he's feeling better now, and we're back on schedule, back in business. And this is where the fun begins. Instead of the negativity you often find on the Star Wars side of the internet, we want to talk about the things we love about Star Wars, how it enriches our lives, the community, the culture, the fans, the media, anything at all. So, as always, throughout the show or afterward, if you're listening or watching afterward, if you have anything at all for us, reactions, questions, requests, suggestions for future segments, anything at all, throw them in the comments and we will see what we can do. And don't forget to check us out on all the socials and on audio podcast sources too. We are at SW Culture Live almost everywhere. Facebook's weird right now, so we're not quite there, but we are streaming live to the Culture Slate Facebook page. And on audio podcast sources like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, check us out there and leave us a 5-star review if you can. That really helps us out. Announcements. I have my sound system and headphones are being super weird, so I'm going without headphones, and I have the sound on the speakers really low. So hopefully it doesn't create any like weird feedback or anything stupid, but let me know, YouTube, Marty, let me know if you hear anything weird off of that. Also, I'm just realizing I forgot to turn my blue lightsaber on. So that's embarrassing. This was destined for failure. This is just the Sith stuff going on right now. But as usual, we're going to start with quick fun facts about each host. So why don't we just to help you get to know us a little bit better each episode? So why don't you take us away, Marty, while I think of a fun fact about myself?
Okay, yeah, I was trying to think of a fun fact for myself as well. But I guess I'll go with this. I only have half a thyroid. I'll just go with that. All right. I had surgery in 2022. I had like my left side was kind of big, and they thought it was a cancerous nodule. So October came around, got surgery, took it out. Luckily, cancer free, so that was good. And now I got a nice little shiny scar, a nice little scar right there to prove.
Dang. Okay, I don't know what I expected you to come up with, but I have half a thyroid was not on my bingo card for that. Good Lord. That's a pretty cool, friggin' cool scar though. Like you could be like, I got it in a lightsaber duel. What do you want? You could like,
right.
Wow. All right. That's cool. That's way cooler than any fact I was going to think of. I got a, you know what? I'm just going to show you. This is not strictly Star Wars related, but I'll be right back. Okay, I forgot. My kid is wearing it upstairs, but there's this product that I'm doing a deal with on Instagram right now called the Oodie, and it's a really big blanket hoodie, and I got the Squirtle one because my toddler loves Squirtle. I wish you could feel it. You can kind of see how it's like shiny, but it's like so soft. Picture like a hoodie, but a hoodie the size of a blanket. And it's so soft and so cuddly, and I don't know how I'm going to convince my kid to not wear it because I want to wear it, but she claimed it. So that's my.
They come in adult sizes?
What's up?
Are they adult size? Like
oh yeah, this one's yeah. Because they contacted me on my brand, they want me to like wear it, but there are kid sizes too. But I chose not to share that with the kids because they're like $95. I guess those are a little cheaper, but it's an adult size, and she's wearing it like it's even comically huger on her. So yeah, it's super comfy. It's super cute. Maybe I should have brought photos, but yeah, that's my fun fact that arrived today. We're all super excited about it, even though there's 4 of us and only one Oodie. So it's going to be a race to see who gets it on when we all get home each day. So that's my fun fact, unrelated to Star Wars. But yeah, let's get into it. For Star Wars news, nothing amazingly insane this week, Star Wars wise. We're gonna go to the Star Wars Underworld Instagram page, a great source of news and updates and things, like late breaking when you see that. So, like I said, nothing too crazy. There's a rumor that the Book of Boba Fett is reportedly set to be released on 4K UHD Blu-ray Steelbook soon, and I'm not gonna lie, I had to have Marty explain to me before the show what Steelbook means because I didn't know what that was.
I'm surprised this actually is going to come out after Ahsoka, because considering chronologically of being released, Boba Fett came out like a year or two before.
Yeah,
a year.
So Ahsoka is already out on Blu-ray?
I believe so, yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is weird. Maybe they were just going to skip it, but then people were like, where's Book of Boba Fett?
I mean, I would have.
My collection.
Yeah, I need it for my collection. Well, gonna start one, but I'll need it.
Yeah, it's hard. Here's a quandary that I've been having with my family lately is we want to see stuff in the theater, right? But there's an infant and a toddler in the house. So unless we're going to pay a lot of extra money for a babysitter, that like movie night's going to cost hundreds of dollars. So do we so there's, you can often rent or buy movies on Amazon that are in theaters, right? And or just rent them, but like you can sometimes buy them for like renting it is like $23 and then buying it is like $26. So you could buy it and just have it even though it's about to be on Disney Plus, like the Marvel and Star Wars one's coming out. Like you could just rent it and be like, oh yeah, movie night. It's cheaper than going to the movies and whatever. Or you could just buy it for $3 more. But why spend those extra $3 if it's just going to be on Disney Plus in a few months?
It's true. So and even though you order it on Amazon, you don't technically own it according to some people. So
right. I keep waiting for the day when all of the streaming services are like, hey, we know you paid us hundreds of dollars for all these movies, but technically you don't own them and we're taking them down now. So bye. Please don't do that. So many movies. Yeah, anyway, so Blu-ray, smart way to go. So that's one piece of news. Another one is that Daisy Ridley sat down with Inverse and gave an interview about Star Wars and her new Jedi Order film. And she was talking about it. I feel like the Star Wars films are all political. I feel like it's the individual versus the big corporation or the big group. And she says it's, you know, they're emotional in that it's good and evil. We can all relate to it very specifically in our day-to-day lives. But yes, I do feel those conversations are woven within the story. And I'm very excited to see what the writer George Nolfi does. So I am looking forward to that. I'm very interested to see like older, wiser, like a Rey who is not stumbling along her journey trying to find her place, you know, like after she knows who she is, she knows her purpose, she's like more in tune with herself and the Force, and that'll be cool.
Oh yeah, that'll definitely be cool. I mean, she's right. Every Star Wars film is something political. The original was more about the Vietnam War and things like that, a little bit of Nazi against the Nazi stuff, and then you got the prequels that are around whatever political things were happening in the 90s. So why not continue that tradition with these?
Yeah, right. I wonder how. I mean, I don't know exactly when it started filming, but I wonder how current its allegories and things are going to be. Like what kind of tools they're going to weave in there.
Right.
Yeah, it amazes me that some people will be like, Star Wars is not political, when they literally have stormtroopers. They're called stormtroopers. I don't know what other how direct do we need to be here?
Seriously.
Yeah, so that film should be cool. And then the piece of news that I'm the most excited about is that right now it's 69 days until Andor comes out, Andor season 2. And I think we'll get to Andor a little bit later in the show, but Andor, in my opinion, is the greatest Star Wars content to come out since I don't know, since the originals at their time, and I just we're watching through the originals or season 1 this week and last week slowly, and it's just so good.
Yeah, I'll have to rewatch it myself. It's been a while. I haven't seen it in, I don't know, I want to say 5-6 months now. It's just been on the back burner waiting to rewatch it.
I mean, there's something to be said for waiting until the week before Andor season 2 comes out to watch season 1. That might be that way it'll be fresh,
Yeah, I think that was a part of my thinking as well. I was like, I'll just wait till the very last minute, maybe a week. Let's see, were there 7 to 8 episodes? I can't remember.
8, I think.
8. So that's enough.
No,
maybe
wait, 9. I think it's 3 sets of 3. I could be wrong. I don't remember. Worst Andor fan ever.
Well, I mean, it's all right. You're more of an Andor fan than I am. I'll give you that. So I will wait a week or two beforehand. Keep it all nice and fresh, so that way when the first episode of season 2 comes out, I'll I guess appreciate it more.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. So 70 or 69 days now until Andor. Let's party, and we'll like I said, we're gonna dive through all of the recent live action TV series in the main discussion part of the episode. So, but before we do that, we're gonna do on this day in Star Wars history. Marty, give us your timely fun fact.
All right, so this one actually I quite was kind of taken aback a little bit, because I wasn't expecting it to be this day to actually show this, but on this day in 1979, Del Rey publishes the first expanded universe novel, Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
Whoa. The first expanded universe novel.
Yep, the very first expanded universe novel. This was
Let's say
the novel
1978.
79.
70. Up here, it look up on the screenshot.
Let me
it looks like 78.
Let me double check my phone. I think I cut it off a little bit. But yeah, I mean, so 78. I guess I did cut it off a little bit on my end from what it looks like. How dare I? But yeah, so this was to be the sequel novel, and if Empire Strikes Back wasn't going to happen, this is what the continuation was supposed to be. It's very weird. I've only read the synopsis of it a few times, but I've never actually read it. It's been on my list of things to read, especially if you are a Star Wars fan. You would think this would be the first one you would go to for expanded universe stuff, but it hasn't been for me. I will eventually read it though. I think it's on a couple of my library apps.
Okay, cool. Luke Skywalker, further adventures. So is this? Did you say when it takes place?
It takes place, I think, immediately after the first movie. Because this was supposed to be.
Okay.
Yeah. So So literally
in
between.
It came out in 1978. Yeah. I guess there's not really another option.
Yeah, because George wasn't sure that Star Wars was going to be a big success that it actually was. So he's like, I got more story to tell. So Splinter in the Mind's Eye was kind of like his idea, but he gave it to this guy to write it.
Right.
And then eventually George is like, well, I have enough money for Empire, so let's go to that.
All right. Yeah, that'll work. Thank you so much, George, for doing that for us. I greatly appreciate it, as does everyone watching this podcast, I assume. Yeah. All right. This day, 1978. Yeah, that's a big one. Well, touche, sir. Well done.
Yeah. So I got the synopsis real quick because this is actually the first mention of. So this one, Splinter of the Mind's Eye, set in 2 ABY, so literally 2 years after the Battle of Yavin. The story follows Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia on a mission to the planet Mimban, or Mimban. That planet might sound familiar to a lot of people. To find the Kyber crystal, spelled Kaiburr, a mysterious gem that grants the possessor immense force powers. In the wrong hands, the crystal could be deadly.
So this was before they attributed them specifically to lightsabers and stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like this was what video games in the future kind of did. Like Force Unleashed, I think they had like a Kyber crystal that helped you with some of your powers.
Yep. Oh yeah, I guess they did. It was like you'd put this crystal in if you wanted more strength, or this one if you wanted more like force connectivity or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like to adjust your attack strategy. I forgot about that.
But yeah.
That's
interesting
cool.
fact.
Yeah, Splinter of the Mind's Eye. That's a nerdy Star Wars fun fact that I will probably use as a trivia question at some point. Excuse me. All right, to something way less cool and way goofier. Let's go to the dad joke of the week, which is I forgot to type it in. Oh my god. And I forgot that. Oh no. Okay, I forgot to type it in a thing, but here's the dad joke. You ready? Wait. Oh yeah. All right, ready? Which bounty hunter is the funniest? It is Bosk, because his jokes are hysterical. Yeah. Yep. There's your dad joke. Thank you to the book that gave me that. That was a good one. Sorry, I forgot to type it in. So let's move on to the meat of the episode here, which is the live action Star Wars series, and I put a fun title on this episode with the description of the topic that Marty gave me: cash grab or quality, recent media and its impact on the franchise. So it was basically like, let's go back. It's been a few years since a lot of these shows were released. Let's go back and take a look at all of them. And it's like, do we think it's just a cash grab? Like, oh, we can make some money off this, people will love it. Or is it like, this is a quality thing looking to expand the franchise, expand the story, and literary cinematic masterpiece? Like, where on the scale does each one fit? So we're going to go chronologically. So the first one we're going to look at is The Mandalorian. This also coincided, like, this was the first big thing to come out on Disney Plus. It was like you got a lot of people probably got Disney Plus so that they would be able to watch The Mandalorian when it came out. I may or not be one of those people. I guess there was a lot of Marvel stuff and cartoons and things on there like that I wanted to see, but The Mandalorian came out. God, what year was it? 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So Mandalorian. What? Give me your first thoughts. Cash grab or quality?
At first, I thought it was going to be a cash grab, just because, first thing for Disney Plus, they want to, rake in something that's got the name Star Wars written all over it. But when you watch that first episode, I feel like it adds to the underground side of Star Wars. So in a way, it's got its quality into it as well. Like that first shot of actually seeing Mando when the doors open, there he is silhouetted right there. I was
in
like,
the saloon.
yeah. So I was like, okay, so this guy's definitely gonna have a story to tell here, and it did. And as more the show progresses, it actually adds to the sequel trilogy. Not just the first season, but like seasons 2 and 3 as well. It keeps adding on more and more to make sure that the sequel trilogy made sense in a way. Like the
Yeah.
cloning, especially the cloning, and then the First Order taking its first steps to becoming the First Order. Like this is how it began.
Yep. Yeah, I think the music, how the music fit like perfectly into the Western thing. Like it's almost like you expect, if you listen to the main sound, the main theme, the Mandalorian theme, you almost expect to hear it with that like fuzzy like interference of like an old film reel. You know what I mean? Like the fuzziness of it. With the brass hitting it like that, it's not quite what you expect from like a cinematic Star Wars track. And when you add that like like that kind of feel, like it's the good, the bad, and the ugly or something, or like an old Western. Like it definitely they use the aspect of Star Wars. Like it's like when you look at Star Trek, everything is extremely high tech and like super rich, right? Super clean, super like proper, and everything's in its place. Like on those Starfleet ships, like everything is extremely like disciplined and clean and bright colors, and but in Star Wars, like sure the Death Star is like that, but like Imperial bases are like that, but everywhere else, like where the rebellion is, it's like dirty and grimy and poor, and like there's futuristic lights and stuff, but it's like with this air of like just like unkempt griminess. And that's what the Mandalorian show took advantage of, that vibe that already existed. It already existed for Star Wars, but it took advantage of that vibe to liken it to like an old Western in the desert. And they nailed it perfectly. Like you said, it was just the opening like saloon scene. Here's a guy with pistols, and then guys try to jump him, and he like shows off and takes them all out. And yeah, I agree. It definitely threw me right away. I'm embarrassed about this, but I thought when I first saw, I didn't watch the trailers too much, I guess, but I was embarrassed because the first thing I saw about the Mandalorian, I thought it was about Boba Fett. Like earlier in his career, before he like, before his armor got green, or before we saw like his dealings with the Empire and stuff. I thought it was about like his journey from between the Clone Wars and when he when we first saw him in The Empire Strikes Back. I was like, oh, his armor looks different. I just didn't read anything about it. But I was blown away by what they did with the first episode, first season in general. It was just so epic. And
I
mean,
I feel like with Star Wars, it's a bigger sandbox than say something like Star Trek. I don't know much about Star Trek, but I know that it almost feels like it's a copy paste kind of thing, where it's like you're in this futuristic world where everything's clean, as you said, and it's always about sci-fi. Science is first in the whole sci-fi part of it. Whereas Star Wars, you get science fiction, but they mostly rely on the fiction portion and back off on the science. So that way you could have things like, I want a Star Wars Western, Mandalorian, Star Wars Samurai. You got Ahsoka, or some of the other actual movies.
Ooh, or that Visions episode, the first one.
Yes, or even that, yeah. The Ronin episode, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Do you? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. I was just gonna say, sure, it definitely was to me more of a quality thing, but in a way, it also went towards cash grab because especially with the merchandise of a certain little green feller.
Where is he? Oh, he's all the way up there. Never mind. I have him. He's here. He's right over there. He's sleeping. Yeah, there was definitely that aspect of it. I do think it was brilliant of them to not release any merch or images until the first episode came out. I think that was pretty cool. That was a pretty big reveal. Like, we don't get things like that nowadays. We get hints and we get leaks and we get images. So that was a pretty big secret for them to keep, and they kept it well. I didn't see anything about that, and so that was properly mind blowing. Yeah, I was going to ask what you thought. Like, did that change in the later seasons? Did it go more towards cash grab or more just? What do you think?
I feel like as the more the series progressed, it kind of went quality cash grab, but now it's kind of leveling out, maybe a little bit cashing over quality, especially in season 3. I feel like those were for like fan service in a way.
Okay.
In some aspects.
I do think there was more of that. It was definitely. It definitely felt more of like an original, new, crazy story in season 1 than it did in the others. Like, he was on his own journey, but I also do have to say that that's kind of the way most shows go. It's hard for sequels to top originals. It's hard for later seasons to live up to the excitement of the first season. And they are trying to build this Mandoverse with more characters of the era. And so I feel like that's why it sometimes feels like fan service, because you like, if they throw Ahsoka in there, no one was not excited to see Ahsoka in live action for the first time. And but yeah, I think there are definitely some goofier episodes, like the one with Jack Black and Lizzo, and
still my favorite of the season 3 one. So
yeah, I like it because I like those people, but it feels just feels a little bit strange. But it was fun to see the droid culture perspective, little input there. And I'm not going to say no to Ugnaughts on the screen. So,
yeah.
But yeah, the first season definitely had a little bit more of a little bit different feel to it. I was gonna say that season 2 and 3 got a little bit predictable, but then I remember trying to predict them, and none of my predictions were right in the least. So I can't really say that. It seems predictable afterwards, but then it wasn't at all when we first saw it.
Yeah, no.
I remember everybody thought the Armorer was a traitor. Everybody, because of certain sus moments, and then we all owed her an apology afterward because she just zoomed in there, hitting troopers in the face with hammers. Just use a blaster, like, whatever. You don't have to melee. All right, so that's Mandalorian. It's a good baseline there. Mostly on the quality side, maybe edging toward cash grabby and fan servicey a little bit toward the end. Let's move on to the second one. Pretty closely related. Book of Boba Fett. What do you think about this one? First pass at it.
I unfortunately think this was kind of a cash grab. Now, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed this season, the series, but it felt more cash grabby just because they've stuck Boba Fett front and center, and like, people are gonna watch this. This is something that will get fans to purchase a Boba Fett item of some kind. The story was a little off, but they just expected, hey, it's got the name Boba Fett. People are going to go and watch that anyway.
Yeah, they weren't wrong. I think just because of I just remember seeing an insane amount of merchandising and advertising for this one. Like they dropped some pennies on this. They spared no expense for the advertising for this one. And they I liked the whole like two stories at once thing. There's him modern, and then they're going through his Tusken Raider thing. I don't know how I feel about like becoming affectionate towards Tusken Raiders. Like I was very comfortable hating Tusken Raiders, but now I'm like, like they're just trying to live their lives. Like no, so that's complicated. But it seemed something. I think something cool about Boba Fett was the small, tiny amount of information that we had on him and his character. Like there was definitely like an air of mystery about him. Like he doesn't take his mask off usually, and he is wearing Mandalorian armor, but he's not a Mandalorian. And he had a bounty hunter father. We saw him as a kid, but we know nothing really other than like some of the novels and stuff. Like we don't really know anything about his journeys after that. But this kind of traded that air of mystery for a story to put in a Disney show is what it feels like. I liked it. I also liked it. But it definitely this to me feels like the most fan servicey of any of the live action shows we're going to talk about. They threw a Rancor in there. They threw Mando and Grogu in there. Mando had a whole episode to himself, which as a Mando fan, I am all for, but it was a little weird. They had like a big old team up where they, at the end, and that fight scene was a little predictable because you just knew who all the players were, and you knew like it had like a standard level of escalation, like, oh, it's these big droids, oh, Ranker's gonna come in, and like it was, I don't know.
Yeah.
It wasn't as strong as Mandalorian for sure.
Definitely not. Yeah, definitely not. And I'll agree. It definitely was more fan servicey. Like they literally threw every era possible of fan service cameos and references. Like the droid that was carrying Peli and Grogu around, definitely from the prequel movies, Attack of the Clones. Yep. The Rancor, obviously, but like I said, Boba Fett and just himself. Mando. There's a couple of other things too. Oh, the flashbacks. I mean, that's definitely fan servicey. The thing is, though, they went the complete opposite direction of this fan service. They're like, let's give everyone this fan service, but it was fan service that the fans kind of didn't want, because when the show came out, people were like, "This is not my Boba Fett."
Yeah, and I don't agree with them either. Like, they chose to give him more of a character than he had before. Like he had a shadow of a character before, and so whatever kind of character you're gonna assign him, someone's gonna be upset about it. It's just the consequences of going deeper into any character, especially one that he's a fan favorite after having three lines in the original trilogy. Like he talks to Vader for a second after he catches the Falcon, but then he fights a little bit on Tatooine at the sail barge at Jabba's palace, but like there's nothing. He's just standing there in the corner, like nodding at people, and that was the fan favorite somehow. So if you're gonna any direction you go with it, if you're gonna go deeper into that at all, like a little of the magic and the mystery is gonna be lost.
Yeah.
So I want to say I like the show, but at the same time, I also just don't know if the show needed to be made. Like,
I'll agree to that.
you could still have him interact with the Mandalorian and like bounty hunters of the time and sort of have his own like mysterious thing going on in this era. Like, and people were like, how did we escape the Sarlacc? But
I feel like this could have been more of a novel, but I guess that's what happens when you have legendary director Robert Rodriguez in charge of the series. You know, the man who made Machete. So it's going to be the way it is.
yep. His entrance in The Mandalorian was extremely badass. Him taking his friends, like just wrecking stormtroopers.
Oh yeah,
It's cool to see like how he has like no allegiance to the Empire whatsoever. He's like, you are trash to me. All right, moving on. Next show that came out. This this thumbnail that I found is pretty silly, but Obi-Wan Kenobi. This show blew my freaking mind. All right, let's do the same thing. What do you think? Cash grab side or quality side or both?
both. But for me personally, more of a quality, just because I love Obi-Wan. He's one of my favorite characters. So anytime I get to have an Obi-Wan on screen, so be it. So I'm not going to complain about it. It did enrich the story of the the man who thought his best friend dead after all these years, and how he just became that hermit that we saw at the beginning of New Hope.
Yeah, that moment it was like the first like dual episode that released, right? Like the premiere double episode that came out. Like that moment was so poignant. They knew, like, you have a legendary actor in Ewan McGregor, and they knew exactly how to use that. You have a legendary actor portraying a legendary moment that I didn't even think of. Like, yeah, he left Anakin for dead on Mustafar, and then he comes back and Anakin is Darth Vader, and he knows Anakin is Darth Vader, but like, I didn't even think about the fact that at some point he had to come to the realization that he did not finish the job on Mustafar, and Anakin survived and is now this like evil monster. And I never thought about that moment, but they did, and they portrayed it, and it was delicious. It was just so impactful and emotional and everything. And the actress who played the sister like did this to him, like, you didn't know your feelings. And that was everyone involved was incredible. I feel like they did fan service without needing to like push the fan service, you know? It was just fan service because we all love Obi-Wan so much. And the Clone Wars era.
And we had the return of Ewan and Hayden both, so that's fan service without asking for it that we actually all enjoyed.
Mm-hmm. And that we like even more because we know they deserve it.
Definitely.
And oh crap, I had another thought and then it vanished. Whatever.
I would say another fan service for me was watching their those flashbacks of them having their duel on Coruscant. Like, that's like literally hours before Attack of the Clones starts. Yeah. So I was like, oh my god, Padawan Anakin and mullet Obi-Wan.
Yeah. And I did, like, you could clearly tell that they were older actors, but like, I didn't care. Like they did what they
Yeah.
could with like makeup and effects or whatever, but I just did not care that I could tell at all. Like just give us that. Like let us fill in the gaps ourselves. A lot of us are smart people.
Yeah, I feel like they kind of left it. It's like we're not going to de-age you for Hayden. They de-aged him in Ahsoka later on, but they didn't do that for this show. It's more like the fans won't care what you look like, guys. It's
Nope.
Just go out there and do your thing.
Yep. Oh, I was gonna say the little nod at the Clone Wars where they had the veteran in his 501st armor like sitting there asking for money was almost cried.
Yeah, I got to that part later, like the season finale where they had their last duel, and then Obi-Wan finally, instead of calling Vader Anakin this whole time, he's like Darth. I was like, he's finally accepted it. This poor guy.
Also, just that one fight scene out in the desert where like he escaped because he like put fire down in between them. Like I get that like Anakin doesn't like fire probably, but like how did that work? They could have just gone around or like he was not his strongest self at that point. I didn't buy it. You got to make me buy it. Come on. Like I don't buy that like none of the stormtroopers would go around and like that one slow droid carrying him out of there would be fine. Like that's not. Come on. You got to make me buy it. Make me buy the logistics of it.
It's about as useful as pocket sand.
Yeah. Pocket sand. Haha. I hate sand. Whatever. Anyway, so there's Obi-Wan. Moving on to the greatest show ever to exist on this planet, Andor. Obviously, I have my my input about where this stands on the spectrum, but what do you think about Andor?
Not a cash grab. I will say that this is more of a quality thing, especially to get you to learn more about who Cassian Andor was before Rogue One. And this was more story driven than having to do all this big action sequences like every other show had. So they really wanted to take their time to explore the background of these characters and develop them into something we would come, especially like Andor. We're gonna get Krennic in the second season most likely, so we're gonna learn about these characters and fall in love with them all over again.
Yeah, they like you said, they took their time. This is I don't think it's a cash grab, mostly because like even the title character, you don't know him unless you watched specifically one Star Wars movie. And so this wasn't like, hey, let's do this and capitalize on this one thing. It didn't feel like capitalizing on anything. They were just like, let's go all in and make like a great drama. And like it's just like the rogue and gritty feel of Rogue One. And just like Rogue One, like Rogue One, I feel like was so good because you knew what was going to happen at the end, roughly. I mean, you had never heard of those characters in the rebellion before, so you were probably like, I mean, I had a hunch that most of them, if not all of them, wouldn't survive. But even though you knew roughly how the end was going to go, you still cared so much about it and about the mission, the whole movie. And Andor is similar to that, but you don't know exactly what's going to happen at the end. They present you with this big mystery, and they take their time and build it up so slow, and you're like, this is really slow, but like you have to sit there. You can't be doing something else while you're watching this show. It's not something you put on in the background. Like Book of Boba Fett, I could probably put it on the background. It's like, oh yeah, he's messing with the Tusken Raiders. It's pretty fun. Or some of the Mando episodes too. It's just like, oh yeah, they're doing the thing. But this one, you have to sit there and watch like every moment, every emotion on every actor's face, every nuance of every conversation. And if you do that, it rewards you so well. You remember all these details. It builds up so long, but then it delivers so freaking hard that it doesn't. There's no comparable film or show in the Star Wars universe that I know of.
Yeah. And I'll take to like how you said, like you can't just put this show on the background because you take your eyes off 1 second of this show. You're gonna miss that important detail that's gonna come right back around, and you're gonna be like, "What?
Did
I miss something?"
It's just a pause sometimes, or like a glance sometimes. Like when I just watched the episode recently where Andor Clem is meeting all of the people that he's doing the heist with on Aldhani, and those interactions, every actor is so freaking good. Those interactions are so poignant and so full of like extra things and motivations that you just it's so full of. I don't get, people were like, oh, it's too slow, it's too boring. It's not boring. If you're not paying attention, it's long and boring, but it's so full of these tiny details. And Andor or Diego Luna is so good at like imagine playing a character for a movie and then doing a whole show where you're like, okay, now you're going to play this character, but he's going to be younger and a little bit more experienced, or a little bit less experienced and a little bit less passionate about the cause that like defined his whole character in the movie. And he does it so well. It's so good.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I think it adds so much. One of the beauties about Star Wars is that it's not just, there's not one feel for Star Wars. There's not one like, oh, this is shot like Star Wars. That doesn't mean anything, because different shows and different movies are shot in different ways within the same universe. So like, that's one of the things I like about this, is that it's dark and gritty and deliberate, and not that it expands the cinematic language and the film language for the Star Wars universe. It pushes it to a dramatic boundary, and that's why I think it's just the greatest. I don't see, there's little moments of fan service, like Saw Gerrera is awesome, and like you see little, I don't know, like how the little things about how the Empire operates, and they threw K2SO in there, or the type of droid at least. But even that, it's not really fan service. It's just like a reference to the movie that the whole show is based on. I don't know.
We're world building. Just
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Glad. Yeah.
Plus,
like
also, what other show can you say will go on to have at Comic Con's One Way Out parade?
Yeah. Oh, that's the next episode. I'm not there yet. I just finished the one before that. I just finished the one where they find out that someone got put back in the prison on a different level, and there was the riot or whatever. So I'm about to watch that episode. Maybe tonight. Probably tonight, if I'm being honest. Hey babe, you want to watch the next one? She's not watching, but it's okay. All right. So that was Andor. Glad we agree on that. There's not much to debate there, honestly. All right, moving on to the next one, Ahsoka. Yeah, I'm less sure of myself on where I stand about this one. So very selfishly, I will let you go first again.
Thanks. Okay. I feel like pitchforks and torches are just waiting there. Like, what is he gonna say?
Yes.
I feel like this. this one's kind of a both situation where it adds to the story of who Ahsoka is, but again, like Boba Fett, it's got her name in the title. That just itself right there, it's just gonna throw people as a cash grab right there. Like, oh, Ahsoka stuff, Ahsoka this, and I don't know. Not to mention, it's also a spin-off, like Boba Fett. It's a spin-off of The Mandalorian. I feel like without The Mandalorian, Ahsoka probably wouldn't have happened, to be honest.
Probably not. Like I wonder if they were looking at the reception of her and her like the fan reaction to her and just the response in general.
Yeah. But yeah, so it goes both cash grab, just because I'm gonna say cash grab because it is a spinoff with her name on it. But quality just because you get to learn what Ahsoka's done after she was saved in that temple on in Star Wars Rebels. Like, this is her way after that, way after Endor, things like that. So it's a continuation of a story that people will enjoy, because we've come a long way from people saying I hate Ahsoka to give me more Ahsoka.
Yep. Anyone who hates Ahsoka, I don't think I have much in common with that person. It's just the building up of her character throughout the Clone Wars to the culmination of her character like leaving the Jedi Order at the end. Oh, I get to use this. Hold on. Where is it? The slow build of her arc throughout the series of the Clone Wars is just incredible, and how she grows on you. Also, just like, she was probably the biggest female role in Star Wars for a long time. Like, she probably has the most screen. If you look at all Star Wars, she probably has the most screen time of all the female characters in Star Wars. If you look at the Clone Wars versus, I don't know, other things.
I will agree. I think she actually does.
Yeah, I think that's important. That was Dave Filoni's creation, right? I think it's
a combo of Dave and George. George, since Clone Wars was George's idea.
Oh, okay.
Dave was originally just a supervising director of the show, who helped create it a little bit, helped create who Ahsoka would become to be throughout the series. But it was kind of a collaboration between those two.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I think this show tied a lot of different things together. It tied Clone Wars, obviously, because it has Ahsoka, and she's like she has the wisdom, but of an older kind of Jedi. Like, she has the wisdom of an older Jedi, but also the shortcomings of the Jedi too. Like, when she's trying to train Sabine, or trying to convince Sabine to want to be trained, like, she has the same blind spots that the Jedi Order had when they were there. Like, she can't relate to someone who wasn't raised the same way. She can't get into the motivations, and it's like, why don't you want to do this? I don't get it. And I think that weakness gives the character depth. And so it connects Clone Wars, it connects Star Wars Rebels. This was Star Wars Rebels, like, I will say, I guess it was Rebels fan service, but that's a quality. If you're going to do a fan service, like, that's a pretty quality one to throw in there.
Yeah, because Rebels is actually now also getting that love it deserves. Like Clone Wars finally got its love later down the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like Rebels flew under the radar for a while. My brother, I have to shout out my brother. Good job, Andrew. He was the one that like turned me on to Rebels. Like he knew about it, and he said he was like, "This is my favorite show, dude. You don't understand." He was like, "This is so good," and I was like, "It's a cartoon. It doesn't even look as good as Clone Wars." And then like eventually, I had, it was the pandemic and stuff, and I sat down and watched the whole thing through, like, and I was like, "Shit, man, you're right. This is freaking gold." And like the only things I'd seen before that, I skipped ahead to the I skipped ahead to the episodes where Ahsoka fights Vader, and I just wanted to see, like, because we didn't know if Ahsoka like lived or died. If you have the captions on for Rise of Skywalker, you can see that Ahsoka is one of the voices that Rey hears. So I feel like we can assume that she has passed away by then. But I don't know. Like we never confirmed the death after that Rebels moment, and so having her come back live action was pretty awesome. Especially teaming up with Mando, that was pretty fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's
Death
where
Star
your samurai.
What the hell? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. 2 shows to go. We're almost at an hour. My lightsabers are going to die soon. Let's do this. All right. Probably the most controversial of all. Let's go with Acolyte. What do you think?
I'm biased here, okay? I feel like this was meant to be a quality show, not a cash grab. In other ways, I feel like this show was trying to help the High Republic publishing initiative, because after this show came out, the books and comics started putting set before Acolytes on them everywhere now.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is more of a quality show just because it's the golden age of the Jedi. All right, we get to see how the Jedi themselves have fallen to what we see in the prequels.
Yep.
And I wouldn't say so much of a cash grab because there wasn't really much you could pull from it to get people sucked in. It's not a sequel to anything. It's not really a fan servicey thing unless you count Kiadi Mundi.
That had the opposite effect.
That had the opposite effect for everybody.
So stupid.
But no big cameos, no nothing right there. This was meant to tell a original story about 100 years before the prequels.
Yeah, I don't see how this could have been a cash grab at all. I don't see how that was the intent. I don't see they aimed to do roughly the same thing as the Skeleton Crew. They wanted a mostly standalone story. It's set in a different era than everything. Like what, hundreds of years before everything? 100 years? I don't remember, but yeah, ish. Like not connecting directly to the events of the main trilogies, just like touching on concepts like saber bleeding, awesome. The idea of like a vergence in the Force, the idea of, I guess, midi-chlorians, maybe the idea of people using the Force as like in a different way, or like viewing the Force in a different way. And it yeah, definitely not fan service. I thought it was an attempt to expand the live action universe of the franchise, and I thought it was great. I'm still heartbroken when I think about how just the name The Acolyte is riddled with controversy now, because just a few loud idiots are going nuts on YouTube.
And the stuff they were complaining about, though, wasn't anything part of the show. Like,
No. It's also not even accurate. Like, it doesn't make your argument doesn't make sense with itself. Like,
seriously, I don't know.
Have you read the Mace Windu novel Shatterpoint?
No.
Okay, so it's about him going to his homeworld of Harun Kal, and there's a the jungle there is really, really rough, and it's because it's connected to the Force in like a really dark, dangerous way. Like, you cannot just go out in the jungle and survive. You need, like, Mace Windu can, because he's connected to the Force and his home planet, and he's alert and all this stuff. But they think of the Force, and they interact with the Force, and nature and the Force are like intertwined. Whoops, in this planet in such a unique way that it like if Acolyte bastardizes the idea of the Force or a Virgins, or bastardizes the idea of what's canon, then this novel absolutely does too. Probably other novels do too. Probably other freaking episodes of Clone Wars do, or the Dathomir witches do. Like, if you're mad about this, there are so many. Every single argument that these people have, if you're mad about that, you have to be mad at like 3 other things that already exist in the Star Wars that you love. You are biased because of not okay reasons to be biased, or because a YouTuber told you to be biased. There's not a sensible argument that you can make that makes sense with itself, in my opinion, against the Acolyte. Whatever.
I feel like this show, if this was an animated show in the form of Clone Wars like style, people might have overlooked it or something. I don't know. Maybe it's still, even with the behind the scenes stuff going on, I don't know what people's deal was, because this was lore heavy. I'll just say that this show was actually lore heavy.
Saber whip,
different versions of the Force, how everyone interprets the Force,
the little badger
planets,
guy, a Tynan.
Yeah,
ridiculous. Yeah. So that's the Acolyte. I think we definitely agree it wasn't a cash grab. There's nothing there to be a cash grab. Like, maybe a little fan service, like in tiny references here and there, but not. Yeah,
maybe a little bit now, since it came out, and now that they actually got a novel coming out that's a prequel with Vernesta Rowe and what's her face that fought May at the beginning.
Indara?
Master Indara. They got a novel coming out, and then you got Yord and Jecki having a novel too.
Nice. The Master Soul's lightsaber is right there, the blue one, and I have Indara's somewhere in a box over here. I need to get one of those display stands and display a bunch of the hilts. That's what I need to do. All right, so that's the Acolyte. Last one before trivia. Skeleton Crew. I am sure, if you are a repeat listener, that you are tired of hearing us talk about Skeleton Crew since we did it for like 10 episodes in a row, but I promise we'll glance over it. What do you think in this context? Cash grab or quality?
Quality with a hint of cash grab. And I always say that because it tried to set itself within the Mandoverse timeline. It has what's his face from the Mandalorian season 3, that pirate. Bane. Yeah. But and it also tried to have that Amblin feel to lure people in as a cash grab. Yeah, I feel like without it being something like the Goonies or whatnot, would people have really been that interested into it?
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah,
but the story was good. It's original.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. It was definitely the vibe sold it. The weird, like, this is extremely dangerous, but also it's almost a kid show vibe. and you have Jude Law, so there's a little bit of a cash grabby factor in that. He did freaking great.
He did.
And then obviously the little Easter eggs here and there. But even then, it wasn't as much. It wasn't a cash grab as much as it was just a tiny little. Like, they didn't advertise them. I feel like just like Andor pushed the boundary into dark, brooding drama, Skeleton Crew tried to push the boundary of the live action franchise into like a little bit of a lighter Goonies, Stranger Things, like 80s kids adventure feel. That was a little bit different than what we see in the Mandoverse shows.
Yeah. Again, that kind of ties back to what I said at the beginning. Is like in this Star Wars sandbox, you could have different types of Star Wars. You could have your Amblin Star Wars, your war drama Star Wars, your westerns, your samurais.
Exactly.
It's all same universe, just played differently.
Yep. I love it. I love that about it. Like, called it. An hour and 6 minutes. That might be the longest it's ever made it, I think. Usually it dies in the 50s. I charged it yesterday. Yeah, like, sell me on a new one. Like, what other I want a Star Wars sitcom. Show me. I want it. I want to see it. I want a Star Wars there's one about Hondo. I want a Star Wars, like, Hondo. What type of, we talked about it. What type of show was it going to be? I forget.
I remember. I can't remember now, but I remember talking about it.
No, me neither. But he's a fan favorite. That would be a little fan servicey probably. But if they expanded the cinematic zeitgeist of Star Wars, I think that would be awesome. Yeah. Anyway, we pretty much agreed on Skeleton Crew there. That's yeah. If you haven't seen any of these shows, I recommend all of them. Like, there's probably an order that would make sense. Let us know if you need help with that. But they're all great. It just depends on what type of night you want to have. With that, we are going to move into our last segment of the night, which is a trivia challenge, and it's going to be one question. Feel free to put your answer in the comments. Doesn't matter. It's just to see if you know it or not. There's no score or money prize or anything. So Marty's gonna give us one question about something we talked about today, which that's pretty wide open, honestly, through all these shows. I have not seen the question. I'm gonna try and get it right. Hit me with it.
All right. So your trivia question for tonight is: the compass to find Peridia was found on what planet? Was it A, God. Ilum, B, Arcana, C, Mustafar, or D, Jeddah?
The compass to find Peridia.
I guess it's more of the star map.
What's Peridia? Don't kill me.
It's where Thrawn is hiding.
Dang. The compass. Okay.
People call it a star map too.
Yeah. No, I got you. I haven't watched Ahsoka since it came out, so this is on me. But I have a guess. So my guess is going to be B, Arcana, just because Ilum, Mustafar, and Jeddah have large roles in other series. So I'm going to guess it's going to be Arcana, but that's just a random guess.
Well, you were right.
Hey, reason that out. Boom.
Yeah, as soon as I made this question and I had it up ready to go, like 5 minutes into the show, 5 minutes before the show, I was like, I was thinking about something about AT-AT, and I was like, what would be a good question that dealt with the ads? Like, which one of these names is not an at planet or whatever from Skeleton Crew.
Ooh, that would have been a good one. I wouldn't remember that.
Yeah, I just thought of it too. I was like, oh man, maybe I'll save it for next time I mention Skeleton Crew.
Okay, maybe I'll go memorize them so I know it. All right, that is the end of trivia, and that brings us to the end of our show. So we hope you enjoy what we're doing here. We know Star Wars fandom and comment sections can sometimes get dark and toxic, but remember, it does not have to be that way. We are trying to bring fun and positivity to the Star Wars side of the internet. Remember, there are more of us. Again, if you have anything for us, questions, requests, suggestions for segments, anything at all, throw them in the comments and we will see what we can do. Don't forget to follow us everywhere, at sw.co. Oh my God, I can do this. At SW Culture Live everywhere for us. And then you can see our handles here on the screen. I am at Nerdiest Stepdad on almost all the platforms. And he is at Marty21794, mostly Instagram, but he's also on TikTok doing Yoda impressions. So follow the show, follow us, leave us good reviews, and join us again next week, 7 p.m. Eastern, to celebrate the best of Star Wars culture. Have a good night.